This is Mia from Mimo Design. Today I'll show you how to make 5 different baggers. This is the Ombre Effect. I will also teach you how to make this snow splatter. I will teach you how to dry brush with metallic paint. I did add some details that I wasn't satisfied about, so I actually did this again. And I'll also show you how to use glitter to elevate your bag. The version that I didn't like, I ended up painting over, and instead I made an ombre effect using metallic paints, and I used a metallic paint to create the splatter effects. First technique is this easy and gorgeous ombre effect. You will need 2, 3 or more types of paints, which is in the same color theme. I'm using different shades of blue chalk paint from a brand called Fleur. I will drop a link below to everything that I used. Start by adding the darkest color in the top. I'm using a foam brush to apply this, but you can use whatever you are used to painting with. While your paint is still wet, you go in and add a stripe of the medium color you chose. Depending on the project you are doing, you could of course choose another color theme, but I want this to look like a night sky. Once you've made this middle stripe of paint, you take your dark colored brush and you use it to blend in this edge, and also maybe add a little of your dark paints to the lighter paints. And while this paint is also still wet, you go in and add the lightest color to your theme. Again, you want to cover everything, and then you'll take the mid color and blend it with. For a little extra effect, you can use your brush and go in and make some type of stripes and just blend it really nice together. It doesn't look as great when it is still wet, but as soon as it's dry, you will see the effects more clearly. But this is a really easy thing to do. Next up is the splatter effect. This is also really easy. Start by painting your bagger the color you want. I did use my darkest blue for all the baggers that you will be seeing next. I do recommend that you let this dry before you add the splatter, but in this case my ornament was actually still wet. I am using chalk paint, so it will dry a little faster than if I used acrylic paint. Now you'll need a toothbrush or a stiff brush of some sort, some white paint, and also a little bit of water. I did actually use too much water for this first try. I highly recommend that you wet the brush you have and don't dip it in the water like I am doing here, because as a result your paint will be too thin and it will create these big drops once it hits the surface. It's entirely up to you if you like them big or small, but I will recommend that you don't use too much water, because then this step will be a little difficult. But you just brush with your finger and brush it against the toothbrush or paintbrush or whatever you are using, and then it will create splatter effects. If you want, you could try it out on a piece of paper or something like that before you go in and do it in your ornament. But once this is dry, it's easy to paint over again if you are not satisfied, and you can give it a new try. Next up is the glitter effect. This is also really easy to do. Once again, I'm starting by painting my bagger blue with the dark blue that I have. While the paint is still wet, I am taking this fine glitter I really don't want too much, so I will actually just take what is inside the lid and I'll gently tap the lids over the ornaments. If you feel like you want a little more, like I do, I will just add the lid again. I'll flip over my glitter and then I can add some more. If you're using a brush or something else, you might experience that you'll get way too much glitter on the back. I just want this fine little coat on the back, and then I'll add some chunky glitter to elevate it even more. I don't want too much of this chunky glitter either, so I am going to use a little brush and I will just gently tap it so the big glitter flakes falls where I want them to be. By now, my ornament is actually almost dry, so this was not the easiest step. If you experience this, I recommend that you use a clear coat of acrylic paint or something like this. I am going to seal it in the end anyway, and then you can add in more glitter. Once everything is dry, you take a clear coat of some sort and you just give it a light coat so you are sure that your glitter will not come off. Once I had my glitter, I took this little round foam brush and I kind of stamped the chunky glitter into the paint. But as said, mine was already almost dry, so most of the flakes actually blew off after I coated it. But to coat it, I use this matte acrylic spray paint, and you just give it a few pumps on the paint, and as you can see, some of them blew off. I actually ended up adding more, and then I gave it another coat of chunky glitter as well as the clear acrylic. The fourth technique I'll show you is how to dry brush the ornament. Again, we are painting the back with my dark blue. You can use any type that you like. Once you're done, you want this to dry completely before going to the next step. To brush over, I'm using this Shimmer Silver acrylic paint, and you want a brush that is worn out and still soft to touch. Take a drop of your paint. You could also use white if that's what you prefer, or another color. You then dip your brush to the paint and you dab off all the paint or as much as you can. And then you just slightly go in and dab on top of your ornaments. The less paint you have on your brush and the more worn out it is, the better results you'll get actually. You can also, once you have applied some of the paint, go in and paint over in stripes and patterns and just continue doing this until you feel satisfied about it. And I wish I had stopped here, but I wanted to add in some more details. I grabbed this silicone pen and I am trying to make these tiny little snowflakes by using the side of my pen and just kind of stamping them. These stars actually turned out pretty okay, but I wasn't fully satisfied about it. But maybe you have a better way of doing this to make small stars and snowflakes and such. If you do, please drop a comment below because I'm sure that other people would appreciate seeing it. But since I love experimenting and coming up with new techniques, I also use this white pearl acrylic paint and a little Q-tip. I just added a little drop of paint to my board and then I used the tip of the Q-tip, cotton Q-tip, to make these tiny snowflakes. You don't want to push too hard because the harder you push, the bigger these snowflakes will be. I actually didn't like the bigger ones. I do think it was great for making the smaller ones. This is also a little something that you can experiment on your own with. All in all, it did turn out okay, but I am always aiming for perfect. Here's what I did instead. I painted over the backer, and instead I used metallic paint to make an ombre effect. Right here I am wiping over the ornament again. You do see the whites underneath. I am using 3 colors of metallic paint, and again I'll drop the links below because I actually really love these paints. It's the first time I'm using them, but I really love how shimmery and glittery they look. I am adding the dark paints in the top as I showed you in the other ombre tutorial. I really like that you can see the snowflakes beneath through the original paint. For the metal stripe I'm using this light blue, and as I said in the other instruction, you just kind of blend them, but this is acrylic paint and I actually found that these blended themselves more or less. It's important that your paint is wet when you are blending these colors together, and yeah, needless to say, these turned out really gorgeous. For my last color, I did have a lighter blue, but I actually figured that white might be beautiful. So I am using this, it's not white, it's more silver, but white silver color. I'll just give it a little more. My foam brush wasn't in good shape, so I'll just grab a new one. And then I continued painting the bottom of the ornaments. But in the end, this ornament or this backer actually turned out to be my favorite. Even if you mess up, this is proof that you can always make something better and maybe even more pretty than what you started with. I also wanted the splatter effect on this one, so instead of using my white paint, I tried using the white pearl paint, which is also from the series. I used a toothbrush that was wet, but not too wet, and you can see how this is really way much easier to slide and make the splatter effects. The paint doesn't show as clearly as the white paint does, but it is because it's metallic and my camera is shooting directly down. You can see how beautiful this truly is, but it is gorgeous, and this will probably be my own go-to method for my future ornaments that I want to paint like this. But which technique did you like better? Please drop a comment below and let me know. I have a lot more tutorials on how to finishing and painting items on my YouTube channel. Also, if you like this video, please give it a like, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you will have updates when I have new videos coming up. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to see you soon.